We have almost exclusively working mothers working for us. And so I will say that the pandemic, which so disproportionately impacted mothers, was really the hardest as a leader, as a business owner, was the absolute hardest thing I've ever been through. What mothers really needed was to work part time for full time pay. It's what I needed, frankly, during that really acute time. So it was incredibly challenging. And what we look for has changed a little over the years with Motherly. But at its core, we're looking for people that are aligned with our mission and our values. I hire for values. And one of them is that we take motherhood seriously. And that is a big shift for people. We're not here to be sarcastic or jokey or to denigrate motherhood and caregiving in any way. We're taking it seriously. And I believe that when you have company values that you really embody, then you hire to those values, and you need each individual that you hire to, on their own, embody those values.
Awesome. I'm live with Jill Koziol, co-founder and CEO of Motherly. It's awesome to have you here today, Jill.
Thank you so much for having me, John.
I'm excited to dive into what Motherly is doing. Y'all have been around for a little bit and have been this valuable resource for mothers and families. We've partnered on the B2B side in order to showcase what Motherly is doing to the employees that use June. But I'll let you do a quick intro on yourself and the company, and then I'd love to dive deeper into what you're learning about the state of motherhood through this company and this platform that you built.
Awesome. Well, I am brand and company first. So I'll start with Motherly before diving into myself. So, Motherly is a well being destination that is empowering mothers to thrive. We engage 30 million women each month, and we are empowering them with educational resources and products and really solutions to help guide them on the journey to motherhood. We are meeting mom where she is. So we have our own award-winning, Webby award-winning podcast, videos, digital education classes, articles, really social media, really anywhere mom is, we are there engaging with her. And we've really become the leading platform doing that. That is, in fact, meeting mom where she is. We are. We founded Motherly because it didn't exist back in 2015. I come from a strategy consulting background in the intelligence community, and I also founded a business where I patented and brought to market a baby goods product. So I learned how to market to moms then. My co founder, Liz Kennedy, is an award winning journalist and editor from the Washington Post. And so she understood content and had the content chops and everything related to that. And so we launched Motherly because no one was really speaking to today's mother in a modern way that recognized that for this generation of millennials that are becoming parents, that they're digitally native, that women are more educated than men for the first time in history, and that they're raising an incredibly diverse generation. And so Motherly is woman centered, not baby centered. We're here to support the mom in all aspects of her life, very holistically. We are also evidence based and expert driven, so highly credible. And we're empowering and non judgmental. We're not here to scare or alarm her.
Amazing. When did you start?
So it'll be actually almost exactly 8 years since Liz and my first conversation. It'll be in a couple weeks, 8 years. And then we launched in December of 2015. So a little over 7 years ago.
Amazing. And then how has the platform evolved since that initial product, and how have you kind of used feedback and also what's happening in terms of your research and from these from these experts that you've had sort of surrounding you in order to then evolve and expand the platform since then?
So we, my, our investor up, proposals and pitches and things like that actually look very similar to the way they did back then. We leveraged a design thinking approach with Motherly. So we really got out from behind ourselves and were incredibly obsessed and laser focused on our audience. And the goal was to create a brand that would have generational longevity that would sit at the intersection of content, community, and commerce. And so we first built content as a way to engage this audience and to build a brand. We don't spend money on marketing in that way. This is organic mom to mom sharing of content that, engages, deeply engages 30 million women a month. And so we were connecting with her first to build the brand, then conditioning her that we influence and drive her purchase decisions and creating a community around all of the content and the interactions that we have with her. And then ultimately to convert her in a commerce way. So we've done that in multiple ways. We have a books, The Motherly Guide to Becoming Motherly, and as well as This is Motherhood. We've also done a lot of different product collaborations, and then now we monetize through shopping guides and affiliate guides and the such, and always with the eye towards ultimately creating motherly branded products over time. And we have decided to focus on digital products for the moment, specifically digital education products, and so that's evolved. Interestingly, we launched our first digital education class in 2016. And, we felt like if we build it, they will come, as they had with everything else we did with Motherly, and they didn't in 2016. And so we put that on the back burner again to always testing and iterating and trying to meet mom where they are. And then COVID happened in 2020. And as a gift to our community who was unable to make it into in-person trainings and birth classes and the such, we made our online birth class free for our audience to really support them during that very challenging time. And within 2 months, I believe, 75,000 women took that class. And so we saw that COVID, one of the few gifts that it gave us, is that it accelerated adoption and comfort with digital education. And so coming out of that, we've now doubled down on that digital education side of things. And so we have a platform with 50 classes. And then we specifically take 15 of the classes that Motherly has created and made them free for this audience.
What type of classes are those, and where are you seeing the most demand or appetite for education in the mothering journey?
So, a woman is the most voracious consumer of information during trying to conceive pregnancy in the first year of life. And so that extends to digital education. They don't know what they don't know. And this is something that, in many cases, for this generation, they've waited, they've planned, they want to do this incredibly well. And being as educated as they are, they find digital education an important component of becoming a mother. And so I would say that sweet time between of pregnancy when they have time, frankly, before the child is born, and then starting to look into things like sleep and breastfeeding and feeding and other challenges that they're faced during that first year of life would be where I stand tallest. And I'm really pleased to see that all of the hard work that we've done to build Motherly into a credible, trusted brand that really understands mom has come across in our classes. And so we found that the most interest in our classes is actually the Motherly created classes. We do have other instructor led classes, and they're leading to each other. There's a flywheel effect that's happening there. But she is coming to Motherly for Motherly in many cases.
Yeah, it's been really interesting sitting at this intersection of workforce wellness and lifestyle benefits, and also what employers are doing on the family care side, and then seeing this explosion in the direct to consumer market of companies that are focused on moms, which I think for many years in the digital world were not as were kind of neglected in terms of information and resources.
I would say more than kind of neglected. We're purposefully suppressed, frankly, and not supported. A few things have changed. One, again, this generation of millennials and now Gen Z as well. Women are more educated than men. Employers understand that it is no longer a nice to have to be supporting and empowering and investing in women in the workforce and mothers in the workforce because you can't push out your most educated cohort of employees. It's no longer, again, a nice to have. It's a business imperative. It's an economic imperative. We will not be successful as a nation economically if we do not find a way to integrate women and mothers specifically into the workforce. And so you're seeing employers start to invest more in that because they recognize the need. The second is because they're so educated, women have found their voice and are really uh, you know, unapologetically stating what they need in order to be successful. We also, through Motherly State of Motherhood survey, we this will be the 6th year. We just closed the survey, so we don't have results yet for 2023. But in 2022, we found that 47% of today's mothers are the primary breadwinner in their family, earning 50% or more of the household income. And Motherly's study, State of Motherhood study, is the largest statistically significant study of mothers. We have 10 to 20,000 women that take it every year, and then we do the hard work of weighting that data to the US Census to ensure that we really are accurately representing the data and that we can empower mothers, women, and their allies in the world to advocate for change. Motherly really believes that when a mother thrives, families and communities can thrive. And that's a big part of the economic engine that mothers are driving as well. So not only are they increasingly the primary breadwinner and an active driver of the economy in that way, mothers are also making 85% of the household decisions, including 85% of healthcare decisions when it comes to what to buy. And so they have so much wallet share, driving 2.4 trillion in annual purchase power.
Wow. How do you make sure as a company focused on mothers that your perspective is, addressing, core truths of health, but also is appealing to a diverse audience of mothers that come from different backgrounds and ranges of life and ethnicities, etc.
Absolutely. So again, it's about being constantly obsessed with who this audience is and who this woman is, and not getting stuck in your own personal lived experience of motherhood, and recognizing that my lived experience is not representative of the entire lived experiences of women and mothers. And so we're constantly going to the data. And that's why we do run this study, is to make sure that we understand where these women stand. As an example, we do not at Motherly get too political. We only advocate for things where 75-80% of today's mothers are aligned on a topic. So we will promote affordable childcare, and we will promote universal paid family leave, but you will not see Motherly specifically advocating for things like gun control or reproductive rights, because the data shows that mothers are not aligned on those things. And again, we are here to educate and empower. So we will share stats from the American Academy of Pediatric that states that, gun deaths are the number one cause of death in children these days. And so we will share that data and educate and empower through that, but we are not here in any way to ostracize a significant portion of society that maybe thinks differently. And this is also for Motherly about not being, too stuck on the coasts, and really making sure that we are representative of the entire country, and frankly globally, that we can cross cultural boundaries. We also are very careful about making sure that our visuals matter, and that we are representing all different expressions of motherhood, and ethnicities and cultural backgrounds and experiences in our photography. And so ensuring that we are in some ways, trying to over index for that to ensure inclusivity. And again, letting that data stand for itself too. Always been incredibly important to us, to make sure that every mom can see Motherly as a resource, and because education is a really important social determinant of health. And that's one of the reasons that we've made our classes, our core Motherly classes, free, because 50% of today's children in the US are born on WIC and Medicaid. And we would not be accomplishing our mission or goal of empowering mothers to thrive if we were only offering digital education to those that had disposable income to afford it.
Yeah. And as you've had your finger on the pulse of what's happening in this area, more in the area of products and services, where have you seen, okay, there's enough products here, it's oversaturated, there doesn't need to be another one of X, and where is there still a lot of room for opportunity, where you're like, there needs to be more innovation on why there needs to be more products and services addressing this, etc.
I feel like we're just at the beginning of a renaissance of innovation around motherhood and around parenting. And so I'm really excited by the innovation that I'm seeing. I'm seeing things like the FamTech Collaborative pull together companies and empower them to share and to merge and to find synergies together as this space starts to explode. Um, we Today's parents are being asked to work as though they're not parents, and to parent as though they don't have a job. And so we're asking a lot and not really valuing caregiving in this country right now. And the pandemic put a very fine point on that. And I think we've made some tweaks and changes along the way, but there's so much more that needs to be done. And so with the lack of governmental and true structural support, we need more innovation in every area, whether it be food delivery or, new infant formulas available. There's a lot that's finally starting to happen. And I really wouldn't say that it's time to slow down on anything at this point. We're seeing innovation in nutrition, which feels incredibly important, in making things accessible. We're seeing more innovation around helping families and dual incomes find with dual income parents find ways to share the mental and physical load of parenting. There's a lot more that needs to be happening there. There's innovation in a lot of different areas that I think bring it on.
Yeah. And how about for you as a mom? What were the most helpful resources or products or services that you came across?
So I became a mom 11 years ago. And again, we founded Motherly because motherhood was really outdated and antiquated then. Even had my second child, 2 years later, 9 years later, 9 years ago. And so there wasn't a lot then. Again, we've seen really almost a renaissance or an explosion of innovation in this area. I was using the resources that were available at the time. I was looking at message boards that were very often a race to the bottom, and alarmist in a way, or super academic, right? And so I really had a hard time finding place there, where I felt like I could have learnings and sharings. I mean, the best thing we probably had were smaller online digital groups and communities, and then it was less digital at the time. It was more your prenatal yoga class and the moms that you met through there that became a sort support structure. But we didn't even have Instacart back then or, really Amazon at the level that we do now. And so I'd say that there has been a lot that's exploded in e-commerce in ways I mean, I haven't been into a grocery store in years.
Wow,
Between
really?
all of the
You're a total
deliveries.
digital person.
Oh, 100%. And the meal deliveries, I mean, I'm at a phase in my life where between being a mom of elementary school age children that are constantly on the run and running a startup like Motherly that's been, a fastest growing company in the country last year, we are I have had to say I can't do all these things and that we have to outsource along the way to make our life work. And so meal deliveries and grocery deliveries and those types of things are one of those areas where like I those are not things that only I can do. And so finding a way to outsource that has been important for us.
Mm. Well, curiosity question. What's your meal delivery service of choice?
So we moved to Park City, Utah, back in August of 2020, pandemic pivot, as we call it. It was a way to get our children in school full time in person. It was one of the few places in the country that was doing that. And so we left the Bay Area, which we love, and have so many great friends there. But so when we came here, I was able to really start supporting more of the local economic infrastructure that's here. And so we use a group called Rebecca's Kitchen that is here in Park City that does amazing deliveries. Luna's Kitchen, which does a lot of like gluten free and other options. And I get lunches very often from Guest House here in Park City, trying to find healthy options that will nourish me and my family.
Amazing. Um, what do you like to do sort of in your free time to balance sort of the stress and growing pains of having a startup?
So it took me a long time to finally get on this wagon, on this trajectory, but I meditate every single morning and it has changed my life.
Wow.
And yes, and it's only
You
10
do it just when you
minutes.
wake up?
I do it right when I wake up, and I've gone through a long journey. I took a transcendental meditation course a couple years ago and I loved it, but it felt like such a huge commitment, 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the afternoon. And frankly, I just don't have time to do that. And it wasn't until August of this year, actually, that I realized that I could let go of the pressure around the time commitment for it and just use the tools that I learned through that And I do 10 minutes every morning. And I do the transcendental meditation practices. And I look forward to one day having time to do it 40 minutes a day. But right now, 10 minutes alone, that has really transformed my life. So I do that. Again, we live in Park City. I ski. I started cross country skiing this year instead of just downhill, just as a way to get outside a little bit more and enjoy nature more regularly. And then I work out 3 days a week, doing something called Legree, at a place called Peak 45 here,
Oh,
which
nice.
is
I just
so
met the founder here in
yes,
LA. He taught a
Sebastian.
class. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's really funny. I'm
yeah.
gonna have him on the podcast soon.
Oh, awesome. I mean, it is such an amazing practice, Legree.
It's hard.
It's so hard. People call it like Pilates on steroids, but it really is so much more than that. And for me, it's really meditative too, actually. It's so hard. My body is shaking. I can't really focus on anything else. The only time I'm distracted is when I'm wearing my Apple Watch and like my assistant or someone, sends me a text, but I'm even trying to turn that off because that 45 minutes where I can be just focused on my own health and wellness and be moving my body really sets me up for the rest of the day. And then lastly, I read fiction. I think it's important for people. It creates empathy. Uh, get outside of your own world, and creativity and imagination can happen when reading fiction. And I think people don't read quite enough fiction these days. So.
Yeah, this might be a big question, but you focused your entrepreneurial career so far the last 8 years or so on the wellness of mothers and the development of mothers, the education, them helping them, empowering them in terms of getting the things they need, the information, the products, etc. And you have these wellness practices that you've seen are critical on your own. As you take a step back and sort of look at the lay of the land, the health of the country, the health of the world, as what do you think needs to change in order for there to be, more access to these tools that are proven to be effective on the individual level, but sometimes haven't found their way to the people that maybe need them the most?
So first, let me say these practices of wellness and nourishing my body, my from the inside and the outside, and taking time to meditate, all of that. This was not my lived reality when my children were really young. And so there's also, to your point, there's a lot of privilege around these things. When I first launched Motherly, I had no childcare. I had two very young children. My husband was, just getting out of business school after having served in the military, and things were very, very hard. I was working during nap times, on weekends, and, really trying to pull things together. My health and all of these wellness practices were absolutely not within the realm of possible for me at that time. I mean, showering was considered wellness and self-care at that time. Um, I had almost exactly 7 years ago on St. Patrick's Day, oddly, I was diagnosed with MS, with multiple sclerosis. So 3 short months after launching Motherly. And that was a diagnosis that really rocked me to my core and shifted my identity in really profound ways. And I worked through it. I have amazing access, a lot of privilege again, to have access to medical care, to be educated, to feel comfortable advocating for myself, to have insurance, frankly. And so I'm thriving with MS, but it has ended up being a gift for me because so often mothers put their own health and well-being last. And that's why you don't see a lot of these wellness practices practiced by mothers when they need it the most, right? When they're going through these massive transformations and their body, mentally and physically, is really pushed to its limits. And so my MS diagnosis for me was a gift because I was able to unapologetically prioritize my own health and had a family that valued it too, because we didn't want to see me succumb to this, really challenging disease. And so I have been able, again, I have zero symptoms and have been very, very blessed with all of that. But I also have prioritized this in a way that I probably wouldn't have in the very beginning. And my wish for every mother is that she doesn't have to come up against a very serious health condition like that and can find small little ways to support her own health and well-being and start to layer those on as she's able to. There are different seasons of life, and very new motherhood is incredibly taxing, the physicality of it and the emotional side of it all. And so I think being kind with yourself and just doing what you can is really critical. And it's also recognizing it doesn't have to be this all or nothing, just like me with my meditation. I didn't do it for 2 years because I couldn't find time to do 40 minutes because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. And that was how I had to do it. When I gave myself the freedom to just do 10 minutes, it's been transformational for me.
Wow, that's really powerful. Thank you for sharing that. That's amazing that you've been able to kind of leverage something like that that's could be such a challenging wake up call or learning about yourself in order to like really empower yourself to really invest in your health. And it is true. I've seen a lot of mothers around me that even have the resources and the privilege to invest in these things, but they still don't because of the pressure of being that the primary caretaker of their baby and their kids.
There's a martyrism that's been associated with motherhood for a really long time. And I think that this generation of millennials and Gen Z now are trying to break that, but it's very, very hard to do it when it's not how you were raised. When, we and actually I think to give men and fathers credit here too, I think that this generation is really trying to remake and be very intentional about what it means to be a parent and to be a caregiver, and has made a lot of progress in trying to find ways to integrate work and to really share the load along the way. But it's redefining what it means to be a mom, and that is what motherly has tried to be. Like, motherly means to nurture, like in the definition of it is to be, nurturing and caring. And to me, I wanted to redefine what it means to be motherly. Motherly can be nurturing and ambitious, it can be strong and caring. And so we have to find ways to pull these things together and to expand our understanding of what it means to be a caregiver and to be a mom specifically, that will enable us to not see it as just being martyrism.
Yeah, yeah, that's well said. How has that philosophy? Or I guess I had one curiosity question, which is around kind of the state of motherhood. And do you ever ask folks why they decided to become a mom? And like why? Because I know that's a little more philosophical, like why people are deciding to have children. Because I've also realized that in another kind of I feel like Gen Z or millennial trend is a lot of folks are consciously deciding
Opting out.
opting out and not doing it. And I'm curious if you're getting any data as to why people are still taking this journey.
So it's a great question. We don't ask people why they decided to have children in the first place, but we are asking if they are finished having children or not. And if they are finished, we're asking them the reasons for it. And some of them, it's economical, that they're done having children. Some are that they feel like their family is complete, and some are that they don't have faith that they can integrate, like can handle much more. Right, they're at their max for where they are, maybe professionally and with the children, or just too many children. Not too many, but they're at their max, with that. But I think that's a really interesting point. You do hear increasingly Gen Z, speaking about opting out for environmental reasons, and seeing it as, and what we're always trying to, again, talk about that experience, but because we're focused on mothers specifically, our audience are people that have decided to opt in to this in some way. But I think that's an interesting thing we should definitely dig a bit deeper in, to understand. And I mean, one of the questions to ask too is, are they feeling that way in their 20s, but once the 30s come along, will they start to feel different? And will we as a society take on more responsibility and relate it to climate change and things like that, that will enable people to start to feel like they're not doing harm by having more children.
Why did you decide to have children?
Well, when you first asked the question, I was thinking I mean, a lot of it's primal. I mean, it's biology, right? Like we're built this way to procreate, frankly. And so I I was married when I think I always assumed I'd become a mom, again, just how I was raised. I have three brothers, and I just assumed I'd have children. But really, it was meeting my husband and wanting to build a family with him was ultimately what it was, and to experience the joy of motherhood. That was what it was really about for me, and to I don't know, build something. I mean, this maybe sounds like trite, but like build something from our love, right?
Yeah, I love that.
And
That's beautiful.
it has been the hardest thing we've ever done, but certainly the most rewarding as well. And again, there are seasons in all of this. I'm in a sweet spot of parenting right now with 9 and 11-year-old daughters. They still love me and think that they want me to go to college with them one day. But they're also, they can keep themselves largely alive at this point. So the physicality is less so. But I know bigger kids, bigger problems. And so I'm in the early tween years, but the teens, I'm sure, will, present a new level of problems. And I need to get on video that they want me to go to college with them because
That's funny.
we'll see.
Yeah. Has your husband ever thought about starting a company called Fatherly?
Well, there is a company called Fatherly,
Oh, is
actually.
there?
Yes, there is. They oddly, it's almost as though like genius struck around the same time. We they were both trademarked within like months of each other, I believe. So it was really interesting because we did not know anything about them. We were so mom focused and mom centered, and they were probably so father centered. I think they have probably found that still, while I think it's wonderful to create resources that are specifically through the lens of fatherhood, I mean, I believe the majority of their users were still mothers, coming for content. Like there is still, uh, just to gender it a bit, like women are still, primary caregivers and carrying a lot of that burden. And so we still see mothers needing a lot of support. And that's why we've focused specifically on motherly mothers.
How has the company philosophy and your personal philosophy impacted the way that you hire people and you've grown your team and the types of folks that I assume a lot of working mothers that you're also attracting to the company?
Yes, we have almost exclusively working mothers working for us. And so I will say that the pandemic, which so disproportionately impacted mothers, was really the hardest as a leader, as a business owner, was the absolute hardest thing I've ever been through. What mothers really needed was to work part-time for full-time pay. It's what I needed, frankly, during that really acute time. So it was incredibly challenging. And what we look for has changed a little over the years with Motherly, but at its core, we're looking for people that are aligned with our mission and our values. I hire for values, and one of them is that we take motherhood seriously, and that is a big shift for people. We're not here to be sarcastic or jokey or to denigrate motherhood and caregiving in any way. We're taking it seriously, and I believe that when you have company values that you really embody, then you hire to those values, and you need each individual that you hire to on their own embody those values so that then the culture can really reflect it. And so, but in the very beginning, we hired people that were so committed to the mission and to building this thing that didn't exist, and they were jacks of all trades. I mean, some of our people, the founding team members, that have been with us for a really long time, have probably had like 5 jobs at Motherly, because they were able to jump into different things. And as we've grown, we've needed to zero more in on people that were experts in their area, that stand really tall in their area of expertise, and maybe are a little bit less jacks of all trades when it comes to things. And so what we've hired for at the core has been people that are committed to our mission and committed to doing what we need to do to redefine motherhood and to empower mothers to thrive. But the types of people that we're hiring professionally has shifted a little over the years.
Yeah, and I have people in my circle and family that were so dedicated to the pursuit of motherhood that they put their they let go of their careers, and they did not, for at least the time being, and they didn't want to straddle both at the same time and had the privilege of doing so. but then, are having trouble and re-entering the workforce. And as someone who's running this company and so focused on mothers, how have your thoughts on that evolved? Have companies become more open and welcoming to those types of employees, or do they look at those career gaps and say, "Oh no, that's not going to work for us"? Like how is this state? How is that happening?
So, one, I have so much respect for women that decide to lean out for a while and to prioritize their family. I have so much respect for others that decide to lean in, that motherhood ignites a different kind of ambition in them. And I have so much respect for women who I say lean sideways for a bit as well, right? Trying to do both. It's hard. We're being asked to layer on roles. And again, as really important economic drivers in this country and being the most educated cohort, the economy needs us. And so I do think we're starting to see a shift where employers are noting that taking a step back doesn't mean that you are less valuable, and that women can actually gain new superpowers, efficiency, multitasking, all these different empathy, all of these things that make you a great leader can be learned during motherhood, and new superpowers can be gained that can be applied professionally. And so we see a couple things around like put raising humans or motherhood on your resume. We're seeing fathers do that as well, noting father of X, child as like an important part of their identity and who they are, and not hiding parenthood in that way. We're seeing more men take paternity leave, which then destigmatizes it for women that are taking a step back during that time. And then we have companies and organizations like the Mom Project that are helping women to level up skills during any time that was lost and to help them to package and position themselves for hiring. And you see, top tier employers leveraging organizations like the Mom Project to hire these women because they're seeing the return on investment. They're seeing the amount of education and training that went into these women, and that a couple year break does not make them less, ambitious or successful professionally.
Yeah, thanks for going there. It was a curiosity, as a lot of these questions have been, as we've been having this conversation, also thinking about the mothers in my own life. Jill, this has been awesome. If you're up for it, I'd love to do a couple rapid fires just so folks can get a better feel for who you are. Similar to what you mentioned with Legree and meditation, sort of outside of work, and how that identity has found its way into leading this company.
Absolutely. Go for it.
Okay, great. So, first one, uh, book you've recommended the most, reread multiple times, or one that has just left a lasting impact or impression on you.
I'm gonna have to say the one I'm listening to right now because it's rapid fire questions and I can't think of one more historically. But I'm listening to the Surrender Project by Michael Singer right now. I'm a control freak like so many people, and I'm really trying in this phase of my life to allow serendipity to happen and to open myself up to opportunities that I didn't even imagine would happen. And so surrendering myself a bit more is what I'm starting to recommend to a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think he has one other
He's a couple other, I
really
think.
popular
This is
book.
my
Yeah,
first with
yeah.
him, but yeah.
Okay, cool. Do you have like a favorite CPG product at your favorite market of choice?
Oh goodness. Rapid fire. These are hard for rapid fire. I'm thinking of all of just really honestly beauty stuff that's coming out. Like, I'm 42 now, thinking about skincare and seeing a lot of new innovation happen in the skincare space. A portfolio sister company of ours is called Fig One, that's really trying to bring more accessibility into really effective anti-aging and skincare products. And so I'd give a plug for that one right now.
Cool. I am glad you brought something different to the table. It's an area my wife is a dermatologist, and so I've been learning kind of through osmosis on that front. A purchase under $200 that you've made in the last, let's just say, 6 to 12 months, that's provided the most value to you.
Oh, purchase the last 200. You know, I'd actually go back to Legree, my monthly membership, for Legree that provides the most value because it's again, With Peak 45, I'm seeing women. I get a little bit of, friend time in that. I am getting like the physical workout. I feel stronger at 42 than I felt at 22, frankly,
It's
through
amazing.
through Legree. And then I'm also getting again that meditative time where I'm able to like shut out the rest of the world and really just focus on my body. So yeah, and that's less than $200 a month.
Does your husband ever come with you?
He did a couple summers ago. We would go every Saturday as like a little day date. Men are not typically as flexible as women. So it was a little fun. It was nice for him to see how hard it is. And that it wasn't just, me like just,
Humbling.
yes, yes, it was humbling. I think he would use that word as well. So no, but he enjoyed it. There are always, a man every few classes when I go.
Yeah, I'm that guy. Signature dish or favorite thing to cook?
As I said, this is not my season for cooking, but I do enjoy cooking, and so I'll say 2 things. One, is a lentil soup. Have always made for years now, and so I'll make that, and again, Park City snow, good savory one. And then Christmas time, I always make ginger snaps, which I love.
One thing that you're grateful for today.
I'm grateful it stopped snowing. And we've had 500 inches, I think I said earlier, to you all before we started, 500 inches of snow here in Park City. And I am grateful it has stopped, for the day at least. But yes, and always, of course, for my family, and for my team. It has been a really tumultuous few years, and the notes I get from my team about how committed they are to each other, to our mission, to our audience is something I am truly grateful for every single day.
Mm. Best piece of advice you've ever received?
Feedback is a gift, not a mandate for change. So, this was said to me, and I share it a lot myself now, during an accelerator that we were part of called Matter. And it might have been attributed to someone else, but it was shared by the lead there, Corey Ford. And we were in the Bay Area in San Francisco. And and when you start a company, when you start raising capital, specifically venture capital, everybody's got an opinion. Everyone's got feedback for you. And it's really challenging in the early days to stay aligned and consistent with what you believe is the right thing for your business when you're getting a lot of feedback. And so learning that feedback is a gift and should be viewed as a gift and an opportunity to look at things from a different perspective, to consider something you hadn't, maybe to run something down or to test and iterate in a different way. It is a gift, but it is not a mandate for change. There is no requirement to incorporate or do anything with that feedback. And so that's always been very freeing to me and something I share with a lot of other entrepreneurs.
Thanks for sharing that. What's your guilty pleasure?
Oh, lately it's been a stressful time recently, and I would say it's the pretzel and dark chocolate bark thins. Yeah, I have a bag. I work from home, and every once in a while I'll bring it out from the pantry, and I have to like rush it back away from me because so good. I love dark chocolate. So the dark chocolate with the pretzel mix, or almonds sometimes. That's a guilty pleasure.
Mm. Who do you look up to and why?
You know, I have always felt really convicted to blaze my own trail and to not try to emulate or follow someone else's. But over the years, and sometimes through writing things or doing interviews, I've come to find that I have been really inspired by my great grandmother, she passed away when I was 8 years old, and she was frankly a really intimidating woman. So I was a little nervous around her when I was younger. But as I went through middle school, I picked her for a project. Her husband passed away when he was 45, and she ran behind the scenes a publicly traded company around natural gas. She couldn't actually be like the CEO running it because back then women couldn't. But she was running this business behind the scenes. And I just have always been incredibly inspired by that. And so, like, the fact that she was intimidating, like, she earned being intimidating, and I didn't know anything about her then, and I'm really inspired by that and look up to that and think about all of the women over the years that were not able to stand in their true power, because society wouldn't let them, and that reminds me to be grateful to be alive at this time where still less than 2% of venture dollars go to women, founded companies, but that I'm able to be in a position for that, if you see it, you can be it, for my own daughters and for others.
Mm. And then last one, what's your least favorite piece of health advice?
Anything that's about physical appearances, I can't even think of anything right now, but anything around physical appearances to me, it's all about being strong, feeling strong to me. So anything that prioritizes something else is not for me. Um, Actually, one other one does come. The whole idea of like drinking 8 glasses of water a day. Um, that one, I think they've started to like debunk that there's like a certain amount. It's really like what is for your body, and that your body actually is really good. Like if you're thirsty, you probably need more water. And so I really try to be much more intuitive. And so things that come with hard and fast rules are typically not my favorite from a health perspective.
Yeah, watch the extremes.
Yes.
Uh, Jill, this has been so fun. I appreciate you being along this ride of learning more about the company and also not getting nauseous as I walk on my treadmill. I'm sorry if you're
Good.
along the
You've got to
ride for this
fit in wellness when you
experiment.
can. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So fun to learn more about Motherly and everything you've built. Where can people learn more about you and the company? And is there anything else you'd like to leave us with today before we sign off?
So let's see, Motherly, just Google Motherly if you want, and it'll pop up first. But mother.ly is the website. We are on every social platform you can think of. I think the brand stands really tall on Instagram. It's a great place of empowerment. And then I would offer what I'd ask people to do is, buy our book, The Motherly Guide to Becoming Mama. It's 5-star, incredibly inclusive, like the book this generation of parents needed. If you know anyone who's pregnant or expecting, and also sign up for Motherly. We've got amazing, innovative features like the free classes that are available. We've got a bookmarking feature because mothers are notorious for just screenshotting things they want to come back to. As you try to read ahead, and we have an innovative bookmarking feature now, a bunch of new offers and exclusive discounts for Motherly registered users. And so I'd encourage them, it's free. I'd encourage mothers to come and sign up with us.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jill. Appreciate your time and everything that you stand for and are building. And looking forward to visiting you for a Legree class in Park City at some point.
I love it. Excellent. Thank you so much, John, for having me. I appreciate it.
Perfect.